guys and welcome. First off, thank you. We just reached over 800 subscribers and today I received this comment on my Instagram. Comments like these, guys, they make me so happy. I can't even start to explain how happy I am when I receive these, and I do receive a lot of them, and I love them, guys. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me because my prime goal with this channel has always been to show the world that reptiles are not scary, they're not monsters, that they are beautiful animals that you should respect, you should study, and they are for everyone. Everyone can look and admire these animals. Thank you so much. It really does mean a lot to me, and every time I receive these comments I immediately just want to make more and more videos. I did tell myself that today I did deserve a break and I should just chill, watch some Netflix, but then I received this comment and I thought like nah, I need to go make more videos. I need to make videos for all my friends on YouTube and on Instagram. They deserve this. So here I am. Today's subject is not that nice. It's not something that I like to talk about the subject because I think it's important, but the subject itself is something that I really don't like, and what we're gonna talk about today is blood mites. As I've talked about before, blood mites are the spawn of hell. I cannot tell you how much I hate blood mites. Very few things that I hate. Mostly I just dislike stuff. Blood mites, I hate them. I really hate them. You may be wondering, what is a blood mite? You can compare them to lice on human beings. There are these tiny mites that live and feed off snakes, and they feed off their blood, which makes them very itchy on the snake. Your next question, and something that I definitely wondered about, maybe how does my snake get the blood mites? Usually they get them from other snakes, especially if you brought home a reptile who has the blood mites and you put them directly in your reptile room, and that's the way that all the other snakes gets them. I've also heard that you can get them from substrates you buy at the pet store. The eggs from the blood mites are simply in there, and when you put it back in your terrarium and you heat it up, the eggs, they hatch and boom, blood mites. The third way I've also heard that you can get blood mites is that if you visit someone who has reptiles, who has these blood mites, and you handle the snakes, or you're even just close to the terrarium, you are in the risk of all the blood mites jumping onto you. Blood mites don't live on human beings. They can bite you, but they pretty much die. They only live on reptiles. You can carry these blood mites home to your own snake. In that way you can kind of like carry the blood mites from one place to another. Blood mites live on your snake. What they do is that they bite the snake and then they suck out the blood, and they pretty much live on the snake like this blood-sucking creature of darkness. They reproduce very quickly, so very quickly you will see a lot of blood mites, and if you don't treat your snakes for these blood mites, they will just continue getting more and more of them. As I said before, very quickly, blood mites cannot live on human beings. We can carry them around, only live on reptiles. There are some signs of blood mites that you can look out for. One of them is the very obvious one. That is when you see the blood mite on the snake, it will appear as a little black dot, and when you squeeze them, blood will also come out of them. So that's a very clear sign. Another good sign for blood mites is the snake is often soaking because they're trying to drown the blood mite. They might be more irritable, and they might also lose their appetite. So that's some very clear signs. If your snake is being more irritable than usually, and especially if they are losing their appetite, you should check for them, because not only may it be blood mites, it could also be something else that's wrong. So loss of appetite is one of the most clearest and best indicators that something is wrong with your animal or the terrarium. The next thing I'm going to show you now is how you look for blood mites on your reptile, but also how to treat them. There are various ways of treating your reptiles, but this is the way that I'm familiar with and the way that has worked for us. We don't have blood mites anymore, fingers crossed. I have heard that the eggs inside the terrarium, they can live for quite a long time, so even though you don't see a blood mite for quite some time, suddenly the eggs will hatch and you have the same problem all over again. Very important that when you're disinfecting a terrarium, you need to disinfect everything, and I mean everything. What we did was that we took, back then we had reptibark, we threw it all out. We threw out all the hides made of tree, basically everything that we could not boil. We threw it all out because we didn't want to risk that suddenly one day like an egg would hatch and we would have the the same problem all over again. So important that you are being very thorough when you do it, because they are like lice. They're so difficult to get rid of, and you really have to get into every single corner, every single hole, everywhere to make sure. Rather give it more time, do another treatment again, just to be sure. They're really difficult. You really have to be absolutely 110% sure that you got all of them. With me here I have Marble. Marble is my female super ivory ghost, and the reason why I quickly brought her up is because she has little black dots. She doesn't have blood mite. In her color she has little black dots, and these dots are what blood mites can look like. So this is something that you could look for. Can you see that she has little black spots? This is kind of like what blood mites look on your snake. They're tiny spots. It's only the big adults that you can actually see very clearly. There, you can see right there. This is it's not blood mites, she doesn't have it, but this is kind of like what they look like. So that might give you an idea on what to look for and what it can look like on your snake. With me here I have Alistair, and Alistair, he's gonna help me to show you how you can check for blood mites. Alistair, come here. Basically what you do is you can either use your hand, and what you do is you do like this, all the way down the body, and then look at your hand. If you have little black dots or some red blood splatter, that's a pretty good sign of blood mite. What you can also do if you don't fancy using your hand is you can use like a piece of paper, and same principle around the body and then just down like this. Look at the paper. Is there anything black? Is there anything red? Blood mite. Of course, your snakes can also just be dirty, especially if you use something like reptile bark. They may have like small pieces of dust or whatever on them. You can mistake them for blood mites, but to be absolutely sure, you can squash them, and if blood comes out, blood mite. The thing about blood mites is if there's so many of them that you can basically just see them on the snake, or you take your hand and you get a lot of them, you have quite a lot of blood mites. Usually when the snake first get blood mites, they're not that easy to spot. Very often they will locate themselves underneath the scales, which is also why it's important underneath here to take a look in between the scales. You have to be very careful, because you can hurt the snake, but you can get like a quick look underneath there if you're being very careful. That's one place the blood mites really like to hide. The other place the blood mites really like to hide are up here underneath the head, like underneath here on the snake. Snakes usually don't like you touching the head or holding it. You will have to do that in order to check. The first place we really discovered blood mites and where we could see that most of them was right underneath the head. When a snake has blood mites, it can become really irritated, and it may have a lot more temper than what you're used to. It's a really good idea to check on your animal regularly, and when I say check, I mean take them out, take a look at them all the way around. Does everything look good? Is everything normal? The way we treated for blood mites, we used this. I don't know if you can get this in every country. This is called Frontline. This is basically for dogs and cats, but you can use it for snakes as well. What you do is you take this and you spray a little bit here on a piece of paper. It's very important that you first spray it on this piece of paper, because if you spray it directly on your snake, you can seriously harm them. So very important, spray it on the piece of paper. Basically the same principle like before. Take it around the snake like this. Whoops. Making sure that it's all covered in this. Usually we would leave this on for like 10 minutes, and then we would clean them completely with water. We don't like to leave it on there too much because it's very strong, and we were very scared that it might hurt the snake, or that it couldn't deal with the fumes, and it may, you know, severely damage him. What we did was that we did this 3 times in a row. Spray it on the paper, on the snake, leave it for 10 minutes, wash it, spray it, wash it, spray it, wash. We did that every day for, I don't know, a week or something like that, and then we basically left the snake alone. We put them in small boxes and just left them in there. While we did that, we took care of the terrariums, and we sprayed them with everything toxic, and I mean, it was so toxic up here, we literally had to like cover our mouths. So all the windows were open, waiting for everything to die in there. Once we assumed that everything everything was dead and everything was safe, we gave it a good wash, a lot of water, making sure that everything's absolutely safe for our animals, and we put them back in. So are there any way you can prevent blood mites? And I'm so glad you asked, because of course there is. You can be very unlucky that you visit someone who might not know they have blood mites and you carry them home, or you go to an expo. The chance of you catching blood mites from an expo, I would have to say, is very, very low, because all the animals get checked by a vet before the whole thing opens. I'm not talking about the vendors here carrying the blood mite, but more the other visitors. The chances of people visiting this reptile expo having reptiles as home is pretty big. So you might be unlucky that some of them are carrying the blood mites in their clothes, and then you get too close to them and you get the blood mites and you bring them home. So the chances are there, but they're very small. The other thing you can do is, if you bought an animal, of course you have to check it before buying. Always do that. Always look for illnesses, always look for if it's looking healthy, and especially check for blood mites. What you also can do after you've checked the animals and you decided to buy it is, when you get home, put it in a quarantine. Especially if you have a lot of other reptiles like we do up here, put the snake in a box and in a completely different room, and then monitor it for like a month. And that's a pretty good idea to do, because that gives you the chance of catching any illnesses you may not have seen in the first place, or even blood mites. So quarantine, always a good idea as well. All in all, blood mites unfortunately are common, and they are seen especially with people who has a lot of reptiles. They can be very difficult to get rid of. It's best to prevent them to begin with. Alright guys, that's all for today. I don't know if I remembered, but in case I didn't, then I just want to say that this is also a requested video. Absolutely love doing these requested videos. Please request many more. I do have tons and tons of videos on my to-do list, but every time you request one, I basically put that on top of the list and I do them first. Please guys, keep on requesting, keep on commenting. I really love to hear from you, and I absolutely love to talk to you as well. Please give the video a like so I know that you like what I make. It really does mean a lot to me. Also, while you're at it, just hit subscribe on that channel. We are closing in on 1,000, and I actually made a bet with my boyfriend that I would hit 1,000 on Friday. So guys, please hurry up, because I really need to win this bet. As usual, you can find me on Instagram under the name jossersjungle. Thank you guys for now, and bye bye.